for that. I'm all with that. Oh, there we go. Perfect time to talking about being litigious.
That's right. That's right. And we're live.
And we're litigious.
Right into a segue.
Charles is listening.
I think that Target had that same issue, right? They sent out coupons to this what was it, like diaper coupons or something like this to some girl, and her father, and she was underage, and her father was like, you know, he got all upset and stuff, and the next thing you know, turns out she was pregnant. Yeah. So,
it's bad when the store knows your daughter's pregnant before you.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's big data's weird, man. It's
the Internet of Things, man. Once you start using your debit card to buy diapers,
yeah,
you know everything about you.
So what do you guys got to talk about today besides diapers and litigious people?
I'm just going to talk about. I put a shout out on Twitter about it, but I wasn't able to join yesterday's call. But I think I called it fancy footwork on your part, Ed. I thought that was super cool when you I don't know, it was like 3/4 of the way into the hangout yesterday, and you're like, that's a good idea, an invisible platform. Let me live code that right now, and kicked it out like really fast. No, I thought it was like super cool.
And that was totally not scripted. That was not planned. We didn't talk about it beforehand. I thought he was being silly. That he was like, yeah, we'll do that. That'll be great. I was like, really? Are you? I have a hard time telling when people are serious. Are you being facetious? And no, he banged it out. 7 minutes.
I don't watch the regular Chronic Geek because there's not enough cursing. So can you guys fill me in?
Go ahead, Jason.
It was now I feel like I need to add more cursing to it.
Hold on, we'll get the stick puppets out and.
Yeah, so they were working on Ed's clone of what's it called? They Must Be Fed. And it's like a jumpy, platformy type of thing, and the notion got tossed out there like, oh, you know, it's sort of like, you remember in Mario where you'd be running around and there'd be an invisible platform and you wouldn't see it till you hit it? And that was not a type of platform that Ed had in his clone, and it was one that he, like, said, that's a cool idea, let me put that together. And, you know, threw it together, like, live. You know, no pressure. It's being recorded, it's being broadcast, and like rocked it out in like a couple of minutes. And I just thought it was really cool. I think it's something that speaks to your abilities as a coder, speaks to how you structure your projects, which I think is as much responsible for, rockstarness aside, I think good old-fashioned organization really helps you to be able to do that, to have a brainstorm and be able to throw it together really fast. And I think it speaks to, to speak the party line, the sort of ease of rapid prototyping with Corona.
The party line?
Well, you Donald Trump now?
Oh,
or is that the opposite?
Okay.
I'm not following.
So, Alex, this is what he was talking about. This is the game that we're making on the Corona Geek Show.
And you're using Kenny's assets? Very nice.
Yeah. Got to use Kenny's assets. He got credit. Don't worry, I give him credit.
No, for sure.
So I don't know why this in. Oh, because I chose an iPhone like an idiot. Well, there you go. Let's choose something else. Anyways, got keyboard input, and Charles said something about a platform. I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool. So we put it in, and there it is. We called it the Charles platform.
Very nice.
So now you know if you bump your head on something invisible, Charles.
That's right. You can use that license free. Don't worry. Charles platform.
Use it license free. Woohoo!
Yeah, but I do. I mean, sometimes when I watch the show, I sort of think about like, okay, how is this going to be useful for somebody who's new to this, or a beginner, or a student? And I thought this is a really cool way of showing that if you do the, I don't know if boring's the right word, but the more workman-like jobs of sort of structuring things and laying things out, I thought you showed a way of being like, it allows you then to turn an idea into a product very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I kind of said afterwards is because we spent the time to do the layout and to consider how things go together, that it really became quite simple to make something new and tweak it a little bit, and boom, you're done. I mean, you didn't really have to. You did all the heavy lifting. We did all the heavy lifting in the last 3 episodes. Now we get to have the fun. So
yeah.
Anyway.
I think some of that comes from the fact that Ed likes to abstract things, though. You know, he likes to kind of like he can create a button and put in the straight up vanilla, Corona code to create a button, but then he's like, well, yeah, that's cool, but if I create a library where I can use I can create a button in one line of code, then I can kind of mix and match things, right? And I think it's that kind of thing that makes it possible to just sort of experiment real quick. Otherwise, you gotta say, okay, well, I'm gonna put a button here, and I'm gonna write all the code for it, and then experiment. It's not quite as prone. It's easy to develop things in Corona, but I think it takes it a step further with abstraction to kind of make it easier to kind of experiment with. That makes any sense.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I've only been doing it for like a million years, right? So,
yeah, right. You've only written a couple of books on programming.
Well, but this is hey viewer, hey all of you chicks out there in Radio Land. I'm trying to. I'm sure I got the Homer Simpson quote wrong there. Anyway. That's a way of saying Ed has done some of the heavy lifting for that abstraction for you. SSK, SSK, SSK.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's a very good point, Jason. It's not that hey, this is mine. Look at how cool and sexy I am. It's he's been gone so far as to share it with everybody, so that's cool.
I like to save that dance for this show.
Yeah, right. Save that dance for this show.
I don't know. Yesterday's call was actually really interesting. I mean, it was fun for me to go in and sort of watch it. Like I downloaded it and threw it on my iPad and watched it on the subway this morning. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I'm guilty of this sometimes when I watch, if I'm not a participant on it, or even if I am on a participant, sometimes I check out a little bit for some of the tutorial stuff if it's something I feel I have a grasp on. But this was a thing where that was a moment where I said, that was like entertaining viewing for me, and I thought it was pretty cool. I also thought it was.
Oh, frozen.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh man, he was about to tell us the secrets of the universe. What the hell?
I also thought it was oh.
Ah.
Ed, I was talking to Michael from Corona, and he's back. And he was talking about how much they need basically a full working platformer game framework that they can use for, they can just point people to and take a look at it. Not like the actual composer piece that they have, but something that has IAP, that has physics, that has level transitions, that has unlocking, this, that, or the other thing. I've been working on it. I mean, I have a game that does that. I can just strip out stuff and put in generic graphics pieces, and I was planning on doing that. But I don't know if that's what if you see that being a possibility for what you just showed off, or if that was something that you were already thinking about.
Well, I'm always thinking about stuff. I am.
Are we talking about
a
framework, or are we talking about just an example? Because I know we did a hangout where we did a platformer example a year or so ago, right?
Yeah. We lost him. Okay. No, you're back.
Amazing.
I can't tell which one. There you go. You're muted.
That was the old fake me that got jumped out. That was my doppelganger.
You were saying, I was thinking. You got as far as I was, and then.
Yeah. Okay. So I was just saying that I felt like it was really a sort of entertaining viewing for me as somebody who sort of sometimes checks out a little bit on some of the tutorial style stuff because I feel sometimes I have a grasp on that. But I thought it was really cool. I also just want to say I love that you had like viewer mail, like at the beginning where you were. Where was it, the particle candy thing?
Yeah.
Where I don't think anybody mentioned it. I know there have been some forum threads. I mean, particle candy still works and people can still use it, but it sounds like the developers dropped off the face of the planet a little bit from what I've seen on the forum. Every now and again somebody goes, and I own a license, and I feel like I used to get occasional emails, and it's been more than a year since I've gotten anything.
I've thought about this before, and this happens. We've talked about. I don't know if we talked about this before, or if I've just said this to myself, but with open source software, there's a point where if it works, then you don't need to make any updates. So I'm wondering, if they're kind of like, well, it works, and then there's just really nothing to do else just to be said. So I don't know. What do you think about that idea?
Well, did they do a Graphics 2.0 like official support update?
I'm not 100% clear on that, but I think so. I think yes. I think it does work with Graphics 2.0.
Yeah, I mean, people are using it, so I mean, for me, I made the jump when they added the emitter API, and I bought a Particle Designer license just because I think Particle Designer speeds up my workflow.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the ability to just sort of play with it, and then it just dumps out some JSON and an image file, and away you go.
I still think it's smart for
my crappy tool.
I still think it's smart for developers that even release open, FOSS stuff to stick around. I mean, if people might have questions, I realize that,
it doesn't leave. It leaves a bit of a sour taste in some people's mouth when you see on the forums like, "Hey, I sent an email to this website that's still up, and nobody's gotten back to me."
Yeah.
Right. If they didn't.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, if they don't exist as a, development, studio or whatever it was that they were when they put out Particle Candy, then, whatever. That's the Expressive studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Expressive. I mean, they had some other stuff too. I actually was trying to get in touch with them because I had an old joystick module that I was putting up on my website so that people could download it. And I emailed them. I was like, "Hey guys, you cool with this? Is that all right?" Never heard anything, so I was like, "All right, fuck it, I'll just put it up." So they might not even be. Maybe they, they're not in the Corona game, I guess, at all. But when we're talking about examples and talking about having a responsibility to support, if you guys had questions about the platformer example that you were just discussing, would you guys be able to answer those questions, or would that take too long to even bother answering for no dividends, so to speak?
Okay, I'm a little unclear on what your question means. Are you saying you have a question, or are you saying if I were to put effort into it, would I be able to spend time answering?
I'm segueing into the example that you were referencing that you created years ago about the platformer.
Years ago.
Years ago, according to Charles.
Yeah,
we've
done
a year ago.
Platformer examples or a example on Corona Geek before. That's not quite what I think you're saying. What you're saying is you're looking for a complete template that's a template. It's got some game levels. It's got some hooks in it for ads and the whole shebang, right? More like a skinnable.
I'm past the topic that I brought up earlier. I'm talking about now. Let's say somebody got a hold of that platformer that you made a year ago. Now,
Yeah.
Would you be able?
So that does happen occasionally. People will just a couple days ago, somebody wrote me in the forums or in an email. I can't remember about they said, "Hey, I saw this show, 110 or something," and I'm like, "Okay, that's great." Here and there, I'm like, "Okay, I know I'm not going to remember what the hell I said in that show." So do I have to count that against myself? Okay, that's 2. But I'm only counting Alex because
I was just saying to Michael in the IRC, if anybody but Ed starts counting my curses, I'm going to be fucking pissed.
Okay, that's definitely a 2. So anyway,
for the viewers at home, we have the little chat line on the side, and Ed is our
I got up to 10 last week.
Living, breathing swear jar.
Yeah. Okay. So the answer was I do occasionally get questions about old shows and code, and I try to answer them, but I can't remember half the time. This person said, "Hey, you said this thing at this time in the show. What did you mean? Do you remember the link?" I'm like, "Was such a cute little puppy." No, I don't remember the link.
So you're not going to do you're not going to go back
to
to
go back to that forum post and write in that you're a cute little puppy. I really.
You are a cute little puppy.
I did my best. I pointed him to my code. I said,
on Corona Geek, on
After Dark,
you called somebody a cute little puppy, Ed. Can you elaborate on what you meant?
It's just like when somebody asks you a question, and it's just like, what? Your mind goes, "You're so cute, I just want to pinch your cheeks." It's like, what is going on over there? It's like total disconnect. I don't know. If you're not getting my reference, it's all right.
Okay. I'm going to throw something out there, and I think Alex is going to jump on my rage train over this. Charles McKeever has never played Mega Man.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm gonna what the fuck? This is my I have to deliver it, add it to the thing. And Charles, I meant this. what is your platform of choice? I'm going to gift you Mega Man. They just released a compilation, like all the original ones.
The original Nintendo is my platform of choice. If you're asking me what I have in my house, it's either the 360 or the Xbox One.
Well, if you can get it on original NES, that's the way to go.
Yeah, right.
You can't zip them up in EMU, Jay? We can't do that?
Oh, I'm sure you can, but you got to get that real controller.
Oh, you got to get the boxy controller, sure, all right.
But no, it's those are good games, man.
I know it. See, that's the thing. I know I'm totally outside of the loop because everybody always raves over Mega Man, and I'm like, yep.
Past
Totally
3, I truthfully don't know what we're talking about. But Mega Man 2, the opening pre-credit sequence to Mega Man 2
are you kidding me?
is in my mind it set a new standard for storytelling.
It's a revelation.
In video games, and it's just a building panning up, but it perfectly sets the tone for this video game. It blew my little 11-year-old mind or 12-year-old mind or whatever I was when it came out. And
listen, Mega Man 2 is the gold standard. I listened to the soundtrack by itself.
You said something about it being re-released or something.
Yeah, they just released for the modern consoles. They recreated it. But my understanding is they did a really good job of they kept even the little quirks from the original versions. I don't have a modern console anymore. I have an Xbox 360, I guess. So
I have the Xbox 360 is not considered a modern console.
It's been almost 2 years, I think, since they put out the last ones, which it's like crazy.
Yeah.
It's old now.
Yeah, but they made the Xbox One where you could play 360 games now, right? I mean that's.
I still have original Xbox games that I play on my Xbox 360. That's what.
Yeah. I'm just playing on my PlayStation 2, and that's all there is to it. Actually, I'm sorry, I have to tell you this. I've never played Mega Man either.
Oh, you just gotta. You just gotta.
Thank you for that, Charles.
You both are getting your AARP cards in the mail, and you have never played Mega Man.
Well, I never had that console. See, that's the thing. I never had that console. So.
Were you no consoles, or were you a Sega Master System?
I just wasn't. What was the primary console it came out on?
NES.
Yeah. NES? So what year was NES?
Like 87 to 90, 92 maybe?
Yeah, those are the years that I was in the Air Force, so I was like, no, I was blowing things up.
Wait a minute, you were in the Air Force in 87?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, you may be older than I am. Holy crap.
I almost cursed there.
We'll have to start a whole new column.
You launching Stinger missiles, Ed? Is that what you were doing in 87?
Air-launched cruise missiles, my friend.
Yeah. Turn your key, sir. Turn your key.
No, but you know what? But go back and play Mega Man 2. That's homework. Do it. They're just awesome.
Okay.
Mega Man 2 is
well,
hot.
I'll have to do it on an emulator, but it's on my list.
All right.
That's tight.
Yeah.
All right,
I
man.
I only play old games like that. I've got a modded PSP.
Oh, I love my PSP that runs homebrew. I love it.
That sound like kind of like a southern video game. But I love my PSP.
Love that PSP.
I do. No, but it's a great little way to play. Yeah, you can throw your emulators on it.
Exactly. You have every emulator on there. Every single one.
Is that like is there a MIDI of the banjo battle? Is that what I'm hearing in the background?
Squeal, boy, squeal. Okay, whoa, okay.
Whoa.
PG-13 or whatever the hell it's supposed to be. I don't Google to be like, hey, we got to shut this channel down.
So we went. So speaking of which, we went to.
Speaking of which, whoa.
Yeah, speaking of which, we went to a Rooster Teeth event last night. I don't know if you guys follow Rooster Teeth.
Yeah.
Red versus blue and all that stuff. Anyway, they screened. Screened. It's already been out. The season's already out. Season 13 of Red versus Blue. We got to see the whole thing in its entirety without any breaks.
How long is a season of that?
It's like 3 hours long.
Okay.
Yeah, and but then afterwards. then afterwards the crew did a Q&A, which was cool, right? So we went to the Alamo Draft House, which is like this.
Oh, are you close to that?
Which what? Which
You're
part?
close to the Alamo Draft House?
Yeah, they have several of them here in Austin. Yeah. So it's like drink a beer while you watch a movie sort of thing.
Exactly.
For those who don't know. So anyway, I don't remember where I was going now. What were we talking about?
Talking about Red versus Blue. You saw it in its entirety.
Oh yeah. So no. So what this topic's related to is that I don't know how it is everywhere because I don't get out of the house much. But here in Austin, it's like people are just like real liberal with cussing. They're like. Especially the gang there at Rooster Teeth, they're just sort of like, effing this and effing that and whatever, man. And they're just going off and all lighthearted, very fun sort of stuff. But it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, my 12-year-old daughter's here, so F it, It was just one of those things. Like I don't know if society as a whole has turned to where they're just sort of like, can kind of casually say things in public, or if it's just here in Austin. But
I don't know. I'm in New York, so forget it.
Yeah, forget it. Right, exactly. Yeah, and when I was in the military, I didn't think anything of it. Right, it was just sort of part of the vernacular. But now that
you got kids.
Now I got kids. Yeah, we go out in public. Blah blah blah.
The kids thing is the difference to me. None of these words are new, and this is
exactly
my issue. My issue with this is like, listen, I can have a sailor's mouth in the right environment, but I like to think that I'm conscious of my environment, and I feel like that's the difference. I think that the difference is like when I was a kid, if I was on the street and some dude was cussing real loud, I could see my dad looking at the guy and be like, hey, I'm here with my kid, and.
Right.
I think the difference is 20, 30 years ago, the guy on the street would have realized he was in the wrong, said sorry. And that would have been that. Now it's like, you're the jerk for expecting some sort of social contract.
Yeah, right. well, thanks for validating that, because there's times when I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm the insane one, because I'm like, really? Oh, okay. But I get it. People want to express themselves, and sometimes that's the way they do it. But I don't know.
That's how they express themselves.
That's how they express
themselves. A limited vocabulary, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, yeah. And I've been through that where everything was every other word was a cuss word, and then I pulled it back, and then now here I am sort of kind of coming full circle where I sort of throw in one error and every now and then where it's appropriate, right? So it kind of punctuates sentences and stuff like that. Anyway, I was just wondering, is that like. Again, I don't get out of the house much, so is that the rest of the world?
Language,
or is that just
language evolves, and I think there is an element of the English language, at least culturally, evolving to the point where that's just a word. Those are words that used to be taboo, and they're becoming less taboo. But I do think there's still a time and place type of situation. And now that I have kids, I think about, like, in my house as a kid, cursing was a big deal. It was a really bad thing in a way that I think placed an artificially high weight over, like, it's just a word. They're just words, right? And words have the power to hurt, but it's just a word. It's not, whatever. So and now that I have kids of my own, I feel like my thinking on it is like, I don't want to censor you. I don't want to, this is just a word. I don't want to put a stupidly absurd weight over what you do and don't use. I think the bigger thing is teaching context. Is teaching. Listen, you're a kid. You're probably going to say these words, but you need to know when it's an appropriate time to do it and not. When I'm around is probably not. When you're around grown-ups is not.
When I got my belt, not a time.
What did George Carlin say? He says they're just words in and of themselves that they really don't. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just the asshole that uses them that's the problem. So there you go. Anyway.
But, it's. I mean, and I love the cultural differences too. I love that if you go to England, fanny is like a dirty word, and yet they use the C word like on TV. They're just like, it doesn't carry the same weight as it does here, which I think is just sort of delightful in its own way. That these are these two countries that share a common language and to a certain extent a common history, and how language has evolved differently across an ocean. I think is just really. There's something beautiful about it.
Before us, so they
I've thought about that before. And I mean, historically, European, I'll just say European and other continents. I mean, other whatever cultures are they're older, right? And so here in America we were separated, like you said, by an ocean, which sort of put us on a reset, kind of like almost like a video game. We sort of reset, and then somehow out of that we set this whole new standard of like what you could and couldn't say. But now it seems like we're migrating towards a more open environment where this other culture was already there, right? Because they'd been around for so long, they'd kind of already grown through that, and now we're kind of growing through that as well. It's weird. It's just weird. Anyway, I don't know how we got to this topic, but it's just weird.
Cursing is great.
Cursing is what?
Cursing is great, and here's the thing about cursing and why it's so enjoyable.
Should I get ready to put a 4 in?
Exactly. Here's what you guys need to understand, and this is why the English language is so fantastic, is that curse words in the English language are incredibly evocative. I mean, you can hear people cursing in other languages. I'm sure Steven and his Icelandic slang, I'm sure he's got plenty of it. Coming from Minnesota, I'm sure he's got plenty that he knows about. But when you're trying to express yourself using curse words is fantastic. Now,
I love it when James Lipton asks people on the inside the actor studio. He always asks what the favorite curse word is.
Exactly. It adds weight, but it doesn't necessarily add texture. And I think that's what's important. Nobody needs to curse in order to get their point across. But when you're cursing, it adds additional weight to what you're saying.
It's punctuation.
Exactly. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Exactly what I was saying. Oh, is it punctuation?
Now,
you
got people. Now, if you have folks that are like your red and blue, your Rooster Teeth folks, you feel like that was not adding any weight or texture. It was just icing. It was just empty calories.
It's punchline.
Right.
Yeah, that's
not funny. Curses as punchlines aren't funny. I think your 12-year-old and 15, I think also, if they're intelligent, which I'm sure they are, they'll realize that, oh, that's not funny. That's just lame. Like, it's when you realize that Tucker Max isn't actually funny. You read, like, 3 stories, and you're like, this dude is just a douche. Like, he's not funny. He's just being a jerk. He's not actually adding any interesting notes here. It's just like, dude, and then I did this. It was so fucking funny. That's not funny. That's not a funny thing. Like, no, if you're cursing to be funny, that's whack. If you're cursing to add weight to your statement, that's the point of it.
For example, Charles McKeever has never played Mega Man. Yeah. Worthy of an F word.
It is. Charles, you're fucking up. If you haven't played Mega Man by now, you're fucking up. You need to go play that. It's tight. See, like me and play with Fallout. Jay already gifted me that. I'm trying to get into it, and it's and he should have been like, dude, get off your fucking ass and go.
Here's
play
the difference with Fallout. While you still should play it, it requires some time investment, and it is a genre that I think has had evolutions that probably make it more difficult to play an older one. Mega Man 2 still stands, man. That's still a platformer that you can pick up and play for like an hour.
Yeah, it's tight.
So specifically Mega Man 2. I can't just pick up any old Mega Man.
That's my favorite one. Mega Man 1, it's the original. It's got a lot of but it deserved a sequel because they improved on the formula. Beyond that, I think I played Mega Man 3. I think I bought like Mega Man 6 for $2 at like a bargain bin somewhere back in the waning days of the NES. But Mega Man 2, man. Ooh, Mega Man 2.
No, it's the gold standard. It's 2. It goes 2, 7, 5, 1, 3, 4, and then I think 8.
Okay, see, Alex has got me beat on this, but
I'm a big fan of Mega Man. I never played Legend. I was a big fan of X. Mega Man X is a great series as well, but I mean, it's a really kind of exactly like Jason said, it kind of set the standard, and not to mention like you see how it influenced other games. Like the character animations are so cool. I mean, it's just a basic 4-frame animation. But that kind of set the standard for that as well. Kind of like how Legend of Zelda influenced Star Tropics, which was a great series in its own right. You know what I mean? Final Fantasy inspired Earthbound. I know, I'm going back. I'm reaching back in my grab bag here.
And I want to talk. You never played Earthbound. Never played that one.
I never played a ton of Earthbound just because I only had it for a week when we rented it from TLA Video, Jay. But
yeah.
Yep. But yeah, no, it was a sweet game. And speaking of cursing, I think this kind of is a topic that... Oh, there it is! He's got it in the vault. even breaks it out. But that's an interesting topic. I'm always of two minds when I'm thinking about putting in dialogue in a game and actually using actual curse words. And it's like, well, how often is it ever really useful? Because I mean, I do want an adult theme in a lot of times, and I feel like in order to add that weight, a good, a couple of four-letter words to really go the extra mile to kind of putting that in there. But then again, at the same time, right, you're alienating kind of a large swath of an audience.
Oh yeah. I mean, anytime that you can do sort of general audience kind of stuff, you're definitely expanding your reach. But
that's the thing. Do you want reach or do you want weight? Like, do you want it
right.
to be impactful or do you want it to just have people see, as get as many eyeballs on it? You know.
Right.
What I mean?
Right. And I think that maybe in that situation, especially in gaming, you probably might get a lot of immediate attention, which then may bring you the weight that you want, but filter out the people who don't want it. Right? Maybe. I mean, I don't know, but. Would there be any App Store issues with that? I mean, do they kind of like frown on it?
Well, you'll just have a really high rating, and you know what I mean, which is fine if that's the audience that you're going for.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I haven't really done any contracts or done any personal projects where I'm like, I really just want to target this at, the 26 to, 35-year-old App Store frequenting crowd who rides the subway and plays Mega Man 2. Like, there's only so many Jasons in the world that can support that game, you know what I mean?
I think it's interesting, because we briefly touched on, like, App Store rules, and is that going to be frowned upon, is that going to be... Has anybody else, there was a big splash maybe a year, 18 months ago, where the App Store changed the rules, and they're like, no guns. Right? Like, you can't have guns in your icon, you can't have guns in your screenshots. And I remember seeing a couple of high-profile games that had weird-looking screenshots because they'd, like, digitally blur out or remove the gun from somebody who's going like this.
They just output a gun out or whatever.
But then I was looking at the store the other day and looking through the, like, new releases and the feature releases, and they, if that is still a rule, and perhaps it is not, they are playing real fast and loose with enforcing it. Because there are, like, apps that are featured by Apple that have a screenshot that is nothing but an array of guns.
I'm sorry, sir. Wait a minute. Stop. Are you implying that the rules for the app stores are inconsistent? How dare you, sir?
Sacrilege.
We'll ignore that if you send us some monies.
Yeah.
Buy this license for $1,000. I mean, I've never heard of that, Jay. I didn't hear that stipulation.
Yeah, it was a big deal, and I mean, there were, like, app updates getting rejected over this, and I remember seeing a couple, like, high-profile first-person shooter-style games where their screenshots look totally weird. I'm like, oh, just Photoshop in a rubber chicken and place that gun, and it's going to look less weird than it does now. Like, but like, it's definitely not something, and this is not an app that, like, flew under the radar. This is like the App Store editors were like, let's feature it, and
the AAA title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was I've you hear conversations with people just talking about the gun theme in general, and, like, I don't think a game needs to have a gun or need to show the gun prominently in order for it to catch your eye. Like, there's a lot of shoot 'em ups and things like that. I mean, I think if you have a game that is going to feature shooting people kind of just know that. Like, the way that you're actually talking about it and what you do in the game. Showing the gun need to be, is that key, do you think? Like, do you need to have that sweet, like, 45-degree angle shot up from the ground shot of the guy, like, holstering his, or, like, shouldering his firearm, like, pointing it at an antagonist? Like, is that necessary in marketing? I don't know. Like, these days, and I don't know, I'm asking.
Well, there was I don't know. I was just trying to find it. There was actually an article that was published on the Chart Boost blog that talked about why all of the war games, all the current, like Clash of Clans and all that kind of stuff like that, why they have faces of people, like, growling and and things like that. And it's some of it went into sort of some of the pseudo psychology behind why our eyes drawn to that. So I don't know, maybe.
This is gun art.
That's right.
There we go.
Drawn by my 6-year-old.
Okay. Well, that was a softer, gentler time when we, when we oppressed women and racial equalities and all that stuff like that. So we thought guns were more. We couldn't use those in media, right?
Good thing we solved all those problems.
Yeah, right.
Right. Wash your hands.
Washed our hands of that.
Everything's good. We're good there. I mean, I think I like where I like playing a variety of games, even though I have barely any time to play them. So, I mean, I don't need to. I don't play Counter-Strike. I don't play Gary's Mod. I don't mess with Minecraft or anything like that. Like the games that I'm playing are niche. Like I was playing what's that game? Heart Fourth Alicia, which is actually a really fun game. It's still in development. I was playing the beta a little while ago.
I was thinking of you the other day, Alex, because I fired up my my PlayStation Vita for the first time in a while, and I downloaded and played Rogue Legacy, which I thought was a lot of fun.
Oh, nice.
Did you play a game just for the game's sake? Is that what you're telling us? You didn't analyze it for how to make a game? You just sat there and just played the game?
You know what? I thought to myself, I don't play video games that much. I'm spending time on the subway. I've got this thing, and I've got a PS Plus membership that gets me free games every month that I never play. Let's do this.
Get after it.
I gotta say, Rogue Legacy was really fun. I don't think it's, despite the name, I don't think it's what would honestly be called a roguelike. I'm not sure I completely understand what a roguelike is in a deep way, but it was a really fun sort of procedurally generated hack and slash type of thing. I enjoyed it.
I mean, is there anything more tedious than a conversation about if something is or is not another thing? Like, can't we just have you know what I mean? Like, maybe it's not a roguelike. Maybe it is. Who knows? Who knows? I think every other podcast, the guys from the roguelike radio podcast debate whether or not a game is a roguelike. And I say, oh my God, is there anything more tiresome than that? Speaking of those kind of ridiculous debates, Charles, they had a debate about whether 28 Days Later was or was not a zombie movie at one of the Alamo Draft House fests a couple years ago.
And a zombie movie.
Clearly.
Right, but they're not actually dead, so there's kind of like yes, exactly. So, and then you're just like, oh my God, whatever. It's just a sweet movie, man. Can we not squeeze all the joy out of this movie?
I'm gonna throw a controversial topic out there and say 28 Weeks Later was not a bad movie.
That was a sweet movie. I remember I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, it was not. It was paled in comparison to the original, but it was a good movie. It was a good movie, man.
Yeah, but it was not. It was not as good as 28 Weeks, which was also very,
that's right, the Sandra Bullock movie, right? It's like the classic video store mix-up.
Oh, you're hurting me now.
The video store mix-up. You get home and you're like,
we're gonna get that sweet zombie movie. I can't wait for the zombies to come interrupt this Sandra Bullock rom-com.
No, it's not even a rom-com. It's a recovery story. She's like an alcoholic. It's actually a sweet movie. I saw it on purpose because I worked at a video store and watched all movies.
On purpose.
It's actually kind of sweet. Plus, who doesn't love Sandy?
Chain
right?
video store or local mom and pop video store?
It was a TLA. I was actually telling this story in the IRC where I am hilarious. Everybody should go there. But I was saying that like sometimes we were talking about trolling, and Eric was talking about how one time during a summer he had to make 6 fish sandwiches for this woman. So he bagged them all up, got them all done, and he got fired because he forgot to put the buns in there. It was just a big sack of meat and vegetables and ketchup and mayonnaise and all that nasty shit. But I remember I was working at this TLA Video, which was the local video store. That was the local neighborhood video store, the TLA Video, and I would just break into a Spanish accent whenever I was talking to people sometimes, just for funsies. Because that's what you do for fun when you're 17 years old working at the TLA Video.
Did you grow up out in Chester County, or were you closer to the city? Because I think TLA makes me think closer to the city.
Yeah, I grew up in Philly.
Like in the city. Yeah, right on.
Oh, good. I'm glad you explained that because I was looking up TLA on Google. I was like, what the hell is that?
Theater of the Living
TLA. Yeah.
I thought it was something else that Alex was talking about. I didn't know what it was.
Nah, it was like one of those. It was the place where you could rent porn in person before you could get it on the internet.
In person. You had to be at the Stones to actually walk up to the counter.
Exactly. You had to bring the videos up.
The beaded curtain.
Let me tell you a story. Here's a crazy story. At these video stores, they had a deal. They had a deal on any video. If you came in, the place opened at 10. You come in, you rent your videos at 10. If you bring them back before 11:30, you can get another free rental that same day. People would come in. There was a 3-video limit. People would come in, rent 3 porns at 10 o'clock, come back at 11:25, return them and get 3 more.
Hey,
like, guys.
Okay, here we go. I remember.
There, okay?
I remember.
True story. That's how Purell was invented.
Exactly.
I remember when we got our first VCR from Best Buy. Was the first time I ever heard of Best Buy, and kid you not, the VCR was $600.
Does Best Buy go back that far?
Yeah, it does.
VCR. We must be talking about the 80s.
It goes back that far. And then they would give you the promotional was, you bought this $600 VCR, and then they would give you a box of VHS tapes, which you would go home, watch as many of them as you could, and you'd bring the box back, and then they would give you another box. And I think we did this like for 3 or 4 times, and we watched Rosemary's Baby and Fistful of Bullets and all the cheesiest movies you could ever watch. I've seen them all through this program, and that's classic stuff.
That's amazing, right there.
Yeah,
you got a box. You got like a bin of videos.
It was seriously. It was like one of those old school file boxes where you had the little string that you wound around the little knobby thing to like close everything. And then when you got home, you
an accordion file.
Yeah, and then you opened it up, and then there was all these movies, and it was just and the worst was when somebody didn't rewind something. You're like,
oh, Sons of Beast things.
Rewind.
That's right. So anyway, hey, Steven, this is actually a good question for you. Are there guns in Militants? There are, right? I'm pretty sure there's like something. Yeah, they shoot things.
Yeah, there's guns.
Are they are they featured prominently in promo material?
Yes.
Do you feel like you have to show them so that people know that they shoot things in the game?
Yeah.
Is shooting yes, right?
Yeah.
You can't just be like, this is a military game with ants in it. And be like, well, obviously I'm going to shoot things, right? You do need to show the gun.
He's got a knife too, but yeah, the guns are a big part of the game, the gameplay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's not Ant Farm.
You guys remember Sim Ant? Sim Ant was a good game.
Nothing like Sim Ant.
I tell you what, there was this. I wish I could find it. There was this Java open source piece of code where you had ants, and you would there was food, and then there was ants, and then you would tap you click the screen with your cursor or with your mouse, and you would generate pieces of food, and then these ants would propagate until they ate all the food, and then eventually when the food all went away, then the ants would dwindle out, and but they would act just like ants, right? And I've tried to find that thing several times online because I was like, that would be great to reproduce that in a mobile format. I mean, just so you could just tap on the screen and create ants and then eat the food. And, it'd be very simple, but I don't know.
I think you should do it.
Oh, I've tried to find it. I've tried to find it.
Your memory, my friend. Do it from your memory.
Just do it from my memory. Yeah, right. Well, I don't know what the algorithm was to make the ants do what they did. That's the thing. I mean, I could reproduce the overall theme, but I couldn't reproduce.
Was it Conway's Game of Life, Rob? He's gonna lay some science on us after that throat clear.
Oh well, I just typed in the chat room, look up Game of Life.
Yeah, was it a variation of Conway's Game of Life? Is that what you're? No.
Well, I was just suggesting that Charles look up Game of Life so he can go get the algorithm for populations multiplying and consuming resources.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, have you guys ever heard of Conway's Game of Life?
That's the very first search result here on Wikipedia.
Yes, that's the one where you have the little car and you put the little pegs in it to go.
Exactly, and you get married, and then you go to college and all that. But it's
that's just called life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go broke.
Yeah.
Conway's Game of Life, many times recoded and reproduced by people. An excellent project to make, actually.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, being like last week we were talking about random number generators, and I'm fascinated by procedural content just in general. So reading through all of the the philosophical permutations of the Game of Life is always a good way for me to procrastinate.
I'm almost sure somebody did a Conway's Game of Life with Corona about 2 or 3 years ago.
They did. That's where I was starting to learn about procedural gen and Lua, and seeing how they worked through it and things like that. It's pretty cool.
Right. They did a good job of exposing the time, so you could play with the time for the generations.
Mm-hmm. I think they had a decay in there too, if I'm not mistaken.
It was kind of an interesting project. I don't remember where I saw it though.
I think it was in the code base, or excuse me, in the old code repository. Who knows where it is now?
It could be.
It might be alive on our drives at this point. It lives on. It does
Most
live
of that
on.
stuff's findable.
I just think the concept is like like you said, the underlying algorithm is just interesting, right? To be able to you could apply it to a bunch of different things. I mean, I think at the time it was there was like flock, right? We had birds, you had ants, you had whatever. The idea was just to try to reproduce something that looked at least natural. Anyway.
Yeah, it's hard to make something organic, but at the same time completely
not.
Completely random.
Right, it's computationally expensive.
This whole conversation is reminding me of Little Computer People. Does anybody remember Little Computer People?
No, I don't know.
No, but it sounds like a great game.
It was a Commodore 64 game. It was like a proto Sims, and all it was a graphical house filled with little people and a command line, and you could tell them to do things, and sometimes they'd do it, and sometimes they wouldn't. They were little computer people. It was, I mean, this game, and I just looked in the App Store, and there's not one out there, and that is a damn shame, because that was a fun game.
I'm glad I'm not the only person who looks through old games and says, hey, man, I played that game. Where the hell is it now? It should be on.
I often think about the whole Commodore 64 thing. Somebody's got to do a documentary, because now they're doing these documentaries about, game stuff and, like, independent development, all these things. And I love that. And I don't know if anybody here had a C64 or whatever in the 80s, but
yeah,
there was a thriving coast to coast piracy scene that involved actually passing discs from person to person and like cutting them with a nail clipper in the corner to do. And I go, this predates the internet, and we all had the same games. And like none of us paid for them.
hey, Jason.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
Well, I have to say that's a first. That almost counts as like a 10 all by itself.
That's a 10-pointer. That's a 3-pointer for bottom
but
line.
I really think if somebody did a really an actual like scholastic study of like how that worked in the days before the internet, because it did. We all passed them around. It just
somehow without the internet, it just propagated on its own. Yeah, totally. I mean that and mixtapes and everything else, right? I mean, just come on. Piracy is not anything new. Yeah.
See, at this point, I don't know. Like, have you guys seen all this? Like, everybody is kind of, or at least most indie devs are staying away from freemium at this point. So, I mean, is piracy? That was the way that they were going to combat piracy. It's just giving you something and then trying to get you to pay for it later on. Do you think that that's still there's any way to beat it? Like, what's the way to circumvent a pirate that is already disinclined to pay for anything? Is there even a point to it?
I'm glad you brought this up, because I actually wanted to at some point tonight talk about being able to reward people in game, right? Being able to say, hey, you've click this thing to get an in-game piece of merchandise or whatever, right? Like watch a video or
right there. It goes
whatever.
Backwards. Yeah. So if you pay for it and then you actually Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the idea is right being that you just take the game. You just get it, and there's no need to pirate it. And the only other thing that you're doing is now in the game there's rewards for doing certain actions, and whether that's actually watching a video or just getting a free gift just to click on the button. I think that seems to where everybody's going right now, at least.
I think it's a cool idea for sure. Sorry, Rob, go ahead.
You got to think your economy situation out, because the game I'm playing right now is Star Wars Commander, which is a Clash of Clans clone. In fact, I think it's probably done by the same people. And in there, the economy revolves around gems, and you get 3 gems for watching a video. And so by the time I spend the time watching the video, I've got 3 gems. That's great. 3 gems won't buy you squat. So you end up having to watch a lot of videos to get anything really usable. Unless you, I mean, 3 gems will let you speed up a builder bot by like 2 minutes. You know, if you've got 2 minutes left, you can go ahead and end it with about 3 gems. And that's just not much of a reward. Now, I know you don't get much for watching the video, but, you know, it's got to be a balance of, you know, making it worth my time or give me a reward that's useful. And that's a tough thing to get the economics right on that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I think we were talking about this earlier today. You know, that it seems like where someone's focus comes from, where their motives come from. Like everybody wants to make money, right? So the developer's like, hey, I'll put ads in the game, right, and that'll make me money. But that's just the developer thinking about the developer, and it seems like there's better traction, at least with these rewarded types of situations, where the developer's not only thinking about themselves, they're thinking about, okay, well, you know, I can give the player something, and then I get something. So there's more of a giving mentality than there's a getting mentality, right? I mean, they certainly at the end they want to get something, but they have to start by giving something to the player, and I think that it's a better place to start from than sort of just figuring out how to squeeze things out of players, because we've all seen the apps that like throw up an ad as soon as the game starts, and then every other action is an ad, and it sucks. You know, you uninstall those things right away, and that doesn't benefit the developer at all.
Actually, you're right. I see some games exactly like that, where I'm like, how is it possible that this game is topping the charts and making any money? Because it's out of here. I'm not even gonna. No, I'm not gonna create an account. Stop bothering me every 2 seconds, and I'm not gonna watch any more ads. Knock it off. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, yeah, and again, that's just that the developer coming into it from a place of like, you know, a cash grab, right? I want to make as much money as I can, and screw everything else. And it's like, well, you know, I think that's self-defeatist, right? It's not. It's a bad user experience. The user's going to delete everything, and then the developer's not going to wind up with anything in the end. And I mean, maybe you can spend money to make money, and you can kind of barrel through and do basically what they're calling arbitrage, right? Where you kind of like you get enough people to see that initial ad, and then they delete the app, but you've made enough money sort of in the difference to equate. But you know, is that really what you want to be known for? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it takes money to make money, and there's no truer in this sport that we're in here, so to speak. You know, you've got to hire graphic artists, you got to hire programmers, and very few people have the talent to do it all on their own. And even if they do, excuse me, it's very time-consuming to do the art, do the programming, do the marketing, and everything by yourself. And that money has, you know, your game has to make money to be able to pay the people for their time. It's very rare that you find people that are just going to do it for the love of doing it. And because of that, and you know, if you think like a business, the idea is to make money, and you're going to do whatever it takes to make that money. That's why you go to a lot of websites, and you know, it's just pounding you with ad after ad and pop-ups and wipe-ins, and you know, we got to make money, but we've created a system where people want free content, and they're not willing to pay for it, and you know, it's going to be a long-term problem on how we get past that. Though I read something the other day that several developers are considering going back to just pay me once up front and be done with it.
Apple's featuring those. I mean, they have a whole category for that now.
Yeah.
Well, let's think about that for just a second. Okay, that's that. Thank you, Jason. Let's just think about that for a minute. Apple's self-interest, right? The 70-30 split comes when people buy apps, right? It doesn't come when people get an app purchase, or well, it doesn't come when people get ads on their ad revenue.
Unless you're doing Unless you're using iAds, I suppose.
Well, okay, yeah, unless you're using ads.
Is iAds still a thing right now? Is that still a dominant force in the ad serving?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
I don't think so, but they still get that on in-app purchases.
Yeah, in-app purchases, iAds, and straight-up purchases. But you know, if you're gonna do a straight-up purchase, they're gonna get 70 or 30% of the sale. Yeah. That's definitely to their advantage, right? And not to say that they favor those apps over other apps. I mean, I've seen plenty of examples where that's not the case, but still, you know, yeah, it fits in line with their revenue model better than ads.
Yeah.
What were we saying?
Well, what is your preference? I was doing freemium before, and like I did projects for freemium, you know, with that model with other folks, and it just doesn't feel good.
Right.
Doesn't feel like that's going to yield any real dividends. Like I'd like to be known as a craftsman rather than just a mercenary someday. I mean, hopefully I can get to that point.
Yeah. Well, here's an app that's
No, that's a phone.
Yeah, no. Here's an app published by Catch
You
App.
played Appy Phony before.
Yeah, Appy Phony. Published by Catch App, right? It's they the first rattle out of the box. They do cross promotion, an in-house cross promotion of their own app, which I think is genius, right? Because.
But that's any catch-up app you get.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
So they're crafting a brand. I mean, they definitely there's a through line to the games that they publish.
Exactly. So this is
they do a really good job.
Yeah. While I have your attention, I want to tell you about another app that I have. Right. You like this one enough to download it, so let me tell you about this other one that I have that you may not know.
And it's not a bait
and
and switch with them, because if you are enjoying the app you're playing, the odds are good that you will enjoy the app that they're promoting.
Exactly. So this app is called Magic River. And then when you get into the gameplay, the very first thing that happens is after the in-house ad, you die because the app is geared that way, like Flappy Birds, right? You're within 30 seconds you're dead, and then after that it gives you a free gift, and the free gift is just a free gift. It has no, like, you don't have to watch an ad, you don't have to do anything, you just got some gems, you're good, right? And you restart the level and you go again. And I'm of the opinion that that's one that's training the user to accept and use this in-game monetization process. And then two, it's sort of like this, hey, I got something for free. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to watch an ad. I didn't have to, right? I genuinely got something no matter what. I got it. And then the third interaction is, oh, well, you died again, so watch an ad and get some additional gems or whatever, right? Yeah. And so on and so forth. It kind of goes along those lines. But I really like that kind of, because there's a term called reciprocity, right? I give you something, and now you feel obligated to give me something, right? So like you gave me something for free up front, and now I can watch this ad and I get some more gems, and why not? Because it's my interest, and that just feels like I think Alex just said, that feels better than saying, hey, I hope you accidentally click on this ad that I put at the bottom of the screen. All right.
Yeah. I'll be interested when my new game comes out eventually. I've got the rewarded video, so if you're stuck on a level, you can watch like a video app, and then you can skip that level and go to the next one. It'll be quite interesting to share the data I collect from that with you guys. Yeah,
and I've beta tested that, and I think that you've implemented that well, and it makes sense. You're right. I mean, you're at that point where you're like, it makes sense to do that, and so I'm interested to see your results as well.
Yeah.
Say that again. What are you doing, Kevin?
Right. So I've got this game, but when you keep on dying on the same level, you can say, right, I'll skip this level. You get a rewarded video ad, and then at the end, when you finish watching it, it will go to the next level.
Yeah, so it's you got this kind of puzzle mentality, right? Where you're kind of like, hey, I can figure out this puzzle, but you eventually reach a level where you're like, man, this thing is so stinking hard, I can't get past it, and you're just like, I just want to skip it, but there's no skip button. But to skip, you watch a video.
Yeah.
which makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense, and then you can just kind of move on, and you're like, okay, well, I don't really do. My life doesn't revolve around winning this level. I just want to skip it.
You guys are moving too fast.
Yeah.
You're covering topics. I'm like, yeah, I heard something about that. I'm looking it up, and you guys move on to the next topic.
We're on. Next, bro.
So there was this thing called Mega Man. It came out in the 80s.
Well, what I wanted to say was Charles was talking about training people, and there was a great article in Gama Sutra about a week or two ago, if I recall correctly, that talked all about this training, and they used Candy Crush, or one of the crushes, as an example. I think it was, and how they used different rewards to sort of like train you to say, oh, well, this is good. I got this one for free. Oh, look, I can get this other one that's even better, and it only costs me 4 tokens. And 4 tokens cost me whatever, 99 cents for 100 tokens, or sort of like you guys were talking about, training people to go use the extra good stuff, whatever it is. Now go buy it. I knew you had to be. That's when you started talking. I'm like looking on my bookshelf.
Yeah.
I think the key component is converting money, real actual money, so dollars or pounds or whatever, euros, into in-game money, and then spend the in-game money.
That, and then, but now you got to get even more sort of like into the psychology. I just want to say Charles is holding this book up. If you guys haven't read that, you should definitely read it. There's a lot of stuff that applies to our industry in there.
Yeah, well, it applies to a lot of industries, right? So so for the home gamers who are listening to the podcast, it's the psychology of influence, or the psychology of persuasion. It's called Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion, and it's by Robert Cialdini, PhD, and he talks about all these things like reciprocity and liking and commitment and consistency, right? So once you've said I'm going to do something, you feel committed to it, and you're going to try to play it out. There's social proof, like if you get a bunch of people saying, "Hey, that's this guy, this thing is great," then especially if they're like influencers and stuff, you feel like, oh, well, I should try it too because everybody else is doing it, right? So there's all these things, and he gives all these different case studies, and it's all based on psychological research. So things like
I mean, that topic kind of ties into the cursing, it ties into the incentivization, it ties into the way that we're presenting the products that we're creating. I mean, I want to make products for intelligent gamers, intelligent users, right? I'm not afraid of people knowing that they're basically being duped with Candy Crush-esque, Clash of Clans, free gift-giving ridiculousness. Like, if they realize that that's just ephemeral, you know what I mean? That's not. Are they receiving significant feedback from the outlay of time? Then obviously that's fine. Like Rob apparently is enjoying his Clash of Clan clone enough to play it and expend time on it. So that's fantastic. I'm sure that, Rob, you also play other games where you're actually seeing, you might be putting an actual emotional investment in there. Maybe somebody has kind of a more adult theme like loss or longing or the actual, the passage of time. That's the reason why I love Harry Potter, and I poo-pooed it until I read it like 5 years ago when like a girlfriend at the time was like, you need to read this, it's good. Like, they deal with death so well for the audience that they're driving at, like that she wrote the books for, that it's very mature and it gets the point across without pandering. And I feel like making entertainment that does the exact same thing while Rob finishes his Dorito Locos Taco. I'm talking about. I think that really should be that's my driving goal. I don't know about you guys. I mean, that's always what I want to try to get out, is get some sort of emotional connection to what I'm making.
Yeah, it's actually a drink of water. Sorry. No, there's really only two other games that I'm playing right now, and they're just standby time killers, which is Solitaire and a game called Word Hunt, which I actually think might be a Corona SDK app.
Yeah, that's Robert Gleason.
Out a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about that game is it's only landscape right. So my smart cover on my iPad won't prop it up right. It's upside down when I try to mount it or use the iPad cover one way. So
sounds like a 1-star review to me, Rob.
Exactly.
Does it use accelerometer? Is there a reason for it only to support the one orientation? Or
no, not that I know of. I mean, it's pretty much a straight word search game. I mean, you pick your list of words and it brings up the puzzle, and you tap and draw out over top of the words. And when you solve the puzzle, it does use some physics to break the puzzle down and have the blocks fall to the bottom.
That's too bad then that they don't support more orientations then.
Yeah.
Because for the first time, I'm working on an app right now that uses the accelerometer in a way, so I have to lock it to the one.
I'll email him and ask him if he can, if he's considered it, right? And maybe he just hasn't considered it.
It probably just might have forgot to put in the build settings.
It could be. I mean, excuse me. He's done several updates to it. The early version, he did not make very good use of diagonal words, which made the puzzles pretty easy to solve and stuff like that. Right. But when I'm sitting on a plane, I'm doing a lot of travel, and I mean, when my battery's dead on my laptop and I can't program anymore, out I come and I start playing, his word hunt game. And but for the other games, I mean, I did Clash of Clans. I mean, I even gave them $20, just kind of a reward because I was enjoying it early on. But you come to a point where it's spend money to win the game. Times to build things or upgrade things were taking days. And you play the game for 5 minutes and then quit. And you come back 5 days later and play for 5 minutes and quit. And that's not conducive to being fun anymore.
But they do make more than $1 million a day.
Pardon?
What's that now?
Oh no, so they make around $1 million a day on that.
Yeah.
Is that model you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But my point is, I got to a point where the game wasn't fun anymore because even after I gave them money, it wasn't enough to make the game advance at a faster pace.
I think what Kevin is trying to say is it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, definitely from their part. But with Star Wars Commander, almost by the time I complete attacking somebody, I come back and my ships are filled up about halfway, 2/3 again. So I can sit here and just attack over and over and over, and still have something to do. Whereas, even though your builder bots are tied up for days, and on the other hand, I think in Star Wars Commander they've made things take way too long. Used to there were it would do 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute type increments. And now it goes 1:15, an hour, 2 hours a day or something like that. So, but again, you're entertained more because you can go fight more with this game.
Can I ask you, have you done any in-app purchases on the Star Wars game?
Not yet.
So it's an interesting thing though. So you're getting more enjoyment out of it, but you have been less profitable for the developers. It's interesting. It's just
At some point, I will reward them, and I will do an in-app purchase. I'll probably spend $20 on the game again, and I'll buy enough gems. But excuse me, the thing that's holding me back on that is the amount of gems you have to spend to do stuff seems to be a lot higher than it was in Clash of Clans. So I don't know that the $20 worth of gems is going to go as far, and eventually you'll get to a point that it just takes too long to do stuff.
Yeah.
And you can't just sit here and heat stuff up all the time.
Well, I'm in the same boat.
We got somebody echoing here.
Yeah, something's echoing.
I think I am. Hold on.
I'm in the same boat because for Clash of Clans, the same thing. I think I've spent about $20 on the game, but their other game, Boom Beach, I have spent $0, and I have probably played the game 2 games side by side equally, in the equal amount of time. So
let me ask you guys this question.
That's a problem, I think.
Let me ask you this question, Charles and Rob. I don't play those games, and I think about people that do. Like you guys, it sounds like, let's say on average you guys have spent $20 on that game. Great.
Yeah.
It's a big game. a lot of people play the game. It's a popular game. They've got, TV commercials. Have you ever, while you were playing it, have you ever thought, this is, the same hamburger with a different bun, and it's got tarragon and maybe some wasabi mayo on it. Is there another burger that maybe tastes kind of the same, but the people would benefit from me going to their restaurant more so?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've looked for other games. I mean, I have.
Well, no. I wasn't trying to say like. I'm not trying to say like you're looking for other games necessarily, Darragon. But are you ever thinking like, this is the it's a tap and then a response, right? Tap response, tap response. Are you ever thinking like, I can get this kind of tap response behavior in another game? Like, is there a reason why you're going with this game? That's what
yeah. Well, I don't know about Rob, but for me, those games, that game, I before bed every night I play both of those games, and it comes down to resource management and strategy. I like being able to say, okay, I've got this amount of resources, and I can allocate those, and I can do these certain things, and I know that I'll get certain outcomes, and I know that I can do that in let's just say between 5 and 10 minutes a piece, right? And I can move on, and then I know that okay, when I wake up in the morning, I can check on that and see how it's going, and then I can do a little bit more of the resource management, and then I can go on with my day, right? So it's definitely within the casual gaming section. Whereas I've had some other games that they're simple word games, almost on the borderline addiction, where it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, just one more game. Just one more. I'll just do this one more time, right? And I'm like, holy shit, I gotta go to bed, right? And I know that at least with Clash of Clans and Boom Beach, I'm like, okay, 5 minutes, I'm done. So that's kind of my criteria. I don't know about Rob.
It's similar. I mean, I don't have time to put into any long-term high gameplay requirements right now. In the way my life's structured, I can't exactly pop up the TV when my wife's in the room because she doesn't want to watch me play video games.
You can't turn off an American Pickers marathon, Rob.
Exactly. I feel that I need to spend time with her, and when I was playing World of Warcraft, I would disappear for hours at a time, and I'm actually kind of glad that computer died because I was able to break my addiction to that game. I mean, it was sucking my life away. I refused to play it for a long time until some of my D&D buddies bought it for me for my birthday and 3 months of gameplay. Well, because they wanted me to come play with them in the game. And I'm going, well, at that point I really couldn't not do it, or that just would be an insult to them. After they spent the money to get me in, and then it's just like, I spent so much time trying to get up to their level so I could run with them, and my wife had to be just fuming mad at how disappeared and gone I was, and so to me right now these casual games, I posted a link in the forums to something called Throne Wars, which is a Corona Enterprise built game that we've promoted on our site. I played that for a long time. Until again it got a little too difficult. I think I ended up, giving them even more money, than I did Clash of Clans, because I enjoyed playing that type of quasi-strategy, quasi-resource management, with a little bit of fighting type game. And it fits my lifestyle.
I tell you the one thing that I don't like in casual games is making me read. Don't make me read. Right? Like, you must go to the mountain of Elderon and blah, 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 blah. Shut up.
Doing arrows.
I don't care, man. I want to know that the basic mechanics of the thing, and I want to resource manage. That's all I want to do.
See, and that's what I really wanted to ask, and that's what I was looking for, because I think that my question is, do you guys go with these games because of the theme? Do you go with them because of the mechanic? Do you go with them because you know they're behind, you know, they're backed by Google and whoever the hell else, and so you know they're not going to steal your identity necessarily, like, you know, like some others might, or like, you know, might threaten to, like some no-name indie developer that's like a fly-by-night operation. Like, who knows what kind of security, you know, system they have set up with their apps and things like that. So I was wondering about that because obviously they're all the same. All right, it's just a different window dressing on the same basic, you know, mechanic. So it sounds like you guys are
from the security side of it.
Yeah.
There really isn't much of an issue there. It doesn't ask for any personal information. Clash of Clans and Star Wars Commander are using Game Center stuff, but that's stuff just being transmitted in and out of Apple centers, which is pretty secure. And I'm assuming that they're using something like parse.com or, you know, some custom database to deal with all the data trafficking that needs to go with it. And then at some point they would need some ID, which they probably get from Game Center, but that's not a whole lot of information to be comprised there. But yeah, it's low barrier to entry. You know, it's free. You decide when you want to give them money. They don't ask for any registration stuff along the way. You type in a player handle and you're done. You know, and that's just, I think that's makes for an entertaining game, as long as you get the economics right.
What's the Corona built game where you feed, you're doing a restaurant, you feed people? You know which one I'm talking about? I have the icon up here. I think it's like over here, like this one. You see this icon here? What is that? You know what I'm talking about? He's got like French fries. You get like a little cart. You're just like, people show up at your cart, and then you've got like all these little resources, and then you have to build the.
It's like Cooking Mama or something.
Yeah, I can't remember at the moment. I'm sorry that I can't remember at the moment. But yeah, basically you're like, you build the dish and then you give it to the customer, and then the next they go away and they're happy, and then the next customer comes up, and then you've got to manage those resources and put new stuff in the hopper and order things, and you collect the money. And I mean, I love that game. I love that game. I'm sorry I can't remember the name of it, but I love that game because it's a resource management game, right? And it doesn't matter if I'm Clash of Clanning or if I'm managing French fries. I'm like, I just like resource management. I just like knowing that I've got an input and an output, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the thing.
I know Eric was talking. I'm talking a lot about Eric this episode, and he was talking about creating a Tamagotchi style thing to kind of be a companion to Questlord 2 when he releases it. Like, you have in that you can have like familiars or pets or whatever you want to call it in Questlord 2, and he was thinking about doing kind of a companion Tamagotchi style thing where you just feed your little pet that you may or may not have in this Questlord 2 game. So
what a Tamagotchi?
Oh, come on, Ed. I thought you were in the Air Force in Japan. You don't know what a Tamagotchi is?
No, you must know this, mate.
I spoke Japanese, but I wasn't in Japan.
It's like a little electronic display with 2 buttons.
And so all it is like dot matrix graphics. It's like the simplest LCD, and you just feed it or you pet it or whatever the hell. It's just
this is like early 90s, mate. You must know this.
He was on an aircraft destroyer at that time.
Alex, I threw a link in
the Navy
in the chat for you.
Where your Tamagotchi kills you? I haven't been on to Kill Screen in a long time. I got to do more with. God, everybody needs to. If you're not reading Kill Screen, you're fucking up. Everybody needs to read that. But Tamagotchis are an interesting model on that because, like Kevin was saying, it's binary. It's 0 or 1. You know what I mean? And so you've got all you're doing is staring at the screen. You're seeing your little animal. It's like Pokemon kind of took it and kind of ran with that idea, and then added into the conflict idea, but with the conflict mechanic, the battle mechanic. But for the most part, all you're doing is feeding, growing, helping it to live, and fostering the life of this little Tamagotchi. And through that principle of abstraction, you become kids at least, became emotionally connected to this ridiculous little egg-shaped keychain, gitchy thing it's got, and all of a sudden it's a craze. It's huge. It's so big. It's like outside of video games at this point. It's like a cultural phenomenon. It is. It's in the dictionary. You know what I mean?
Inspired the Dreamcast VMU. If it was Dreamcast came up in the chat earlier.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it used to be a cultural phenomenon.
Okay,
it's not anymore.
Right.
Not part of my culture.
That's not your culture and heritage.
Right. I threw Here's the second link. Right.
I do know what you guys are talking about now, though. I just didn't recognize the name, but as soon as I saw the picture, that it all came clear.
Yeah. It's
virtual pets.
I'm not that out of it.
All right.
But there was a period in there, 1987 to 1989. I was not doing any. Remember what was going on, 87 to 89. So
I had a friend who was in the Navy, and I remember he told me his ship was docked at a port in Philadelphia, but he wasn't allowed to go off the ship. He had to live on the ship, even though they were docked at the port. And I was like, what sense does that make? What the hell is going on there? Did you have that same problem, Ed? Were you on the destroyer and you were docked at...
No! Stop!
Oh.
No!
You weren't on a battleship in Tokyo Harbor?
Oh my god.
I tell you what, Alex. When I went down to the recruiting office, I looked at all the different branches, right? So this is a little bit of it'll relate to this. I went to all the branches, and I was like, the Army was at the end of the hall, and I knew I didn't want to be in the Army because that's just like that was just generic.
Spring. It was spring, not an autumn.
It was just generic. Well, it was just generic. It just felt too generic. I was like, I don't want to be in the Army because the Army just, it's the Army.
That's the hilarious reason. I want to hear the rest. Okay,
yeah, right, exactly. So then coming back this way was the Air Force. I mean, I'm sorry, the Navy, and the Navy guy was like hanging outside the office there, like some sort of street corner prostitute or something. He was like, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Jeez, he would know.
Come on in. Come on in and look at my photo album." And he's like, "Yeah, this is when we were in this port, and this is when we were in that port, and all this other stuff like that." And you got so much money, you don't know what to do with it, right? I mean, he was just like, he was like a total like a pimp, and I was like, no. You know what? The fact that you're in a port all the time means that you're traveling on a boat, and that means you're underwater all the time, and that means you're like, I don't want to do it. And he wanted to convince me to be in part of the nuclear program. Look, we can get you in the nuclear program.
Get on a nuclear submarine. You can
yeah, exactly. He was like, what's your GPA in school? What kind of student are you, right? And I was like one of the top students and stuff. And he was like, hey, we can get you in the nuclear program and all this stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? I don't want my testicles to glow in the dark. No, man, no. I think I'll go talk to these other guys down.
I'm glad you said it.
And so I went, and the Air Force was closed that day, right? They had their quota for the month. They were like, yeah, we're good. We're gonna go play golf. We're not even here. And the Marine Corps recruiter was like coming in the off. He was coming in from the outside because at the time you couldn't smoke in public buildings, and he was
just got done choking out the Air Force guys and putting his cigarettes out on their foreheads.
Yeah, right. And this guy was like he was short and stocky. He was like he was the atypical sort of Marine Corps recruiter sort of guy, right? And he was like this short, stocky sort of guy, and he was like, "How's it going?" And I said, I'm good. He says, can I help you? You looking for something? And I was like, I was thinking about signing up for the military. And I talked to these guys, and I talked, those guys aren't in. And he's like, So come on in here for a moment. Let's talk for a minute. I mean, let's see what we can offer you here in the Marines. And I was like, okay, whatever. I got nothing else to do with my day. I was looking to sign up. Let's do it. And he threw out these little plastic. He had these little things in his desk. He pulled out and it was on a chain. And it was like these little plastic things, right? And he was like, pick out some words here that mean something to you. And they were all words like honor and respect and all these things, right? I mean, there was no words like loser and
kill.
Yeah, right. But there's all these words, right, that you would want to achieve, right? All these character words, right? And so I picked out like 3 character words, and he was like, okay, let me tell you how the Marines can do that for you, right? And I was hooked. After that, it was like like that was the thing. But I still remember that day. Like the Air Force was totally not there. They were done. They didn't need anybody else. You know, and then everybody else was like, I didn't even get to poor Army guys. I didn't even get to talk to them. Sorry everybody.
But you're still the butt of our
green
joke.
clashes with your eyes, Eric. You needed that blue.
Yeah. So
you
anyway,
always gotta watch it when you talk on, you know, because you never know somebody listening be like, hey man, I was in the Army.
Yeah, and I respect them all, right? I respect them all.
What you talking about?
Yeah. After having been there, I totally respect them all. But you know, at the time, I was a 17-year-old. I was like, whatever. I don't know.
So you were a Marine then?
What branch?
Yeah, I was in the Marines. I joined the Marines. I was in the Marines for 5 years, and so I worked at this. So I worked at this Kmart the summer before I went to the Marines, right? And this guy who was like some sort of consultant or whatever, he came into this the sporting goods department where I was working, and he was like, I had this flat top haircut, right? You know, kind of all zealous and stuff, and he was like, you in the military? And I was like, no, but I was signed up for the Marines. I'm going to the Marines. He's like, why did you sign up for the Marines? I was like, because I wanted to go places and see things and do stuff and get money for college. And he was like, go places? You're not going anywhere. He's like, there's like 2 duty stations. There's like, you know, the East Coast, the West Coast, and Okinawa. That's it. He's like, you're never going to see anything. I was like, all right, thanks for that.
But the commercial made it seem like I got a flaming sword that I could.
Did, man. It was totally, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
Because you're a cap and then in the scabbard, and oh man.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of honor and there's a lot of joy and there's a lot of everything in that. But man, I saw some guys who were just like, it's a character thing. Like if you went in and you were like, there was even like a little bit of darkness in your heart. It just magnified it. It crushed some guys. They just never recovered, and then some people just excelled. It was a very interesting time. So, anyway, I don't know how we got on that. What were we talking about again?
we were talking about Ed using drones to.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah,
to fly
totally.
Over Afghanistan.
Totally, yeah. I had a buddy who was
never served in Afghanistan.
Yeah, again, wasn't there. Vietnam, not me. Shut up.
Nobody's actually in Afghanistan. All those drones are operated from Tampa-stan. They call it.
Tampa-stan. Oh wow, that's a mixing. So yeah, I had a buddy who was in North Carolina who was he actually went to Bosnia and he did the whole drone thing. You know, back in the early days, before like now they're all like autonomous or whatever, but back in the day they were actually, you know, flying it from a remote control.
Did they have to make a face like that?
I'm sure he did. I don't know. It was all top secret stuff at the time.
Going in, they're going,
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. In the beginning, you went through boot camp. You went through weapons training, and then after that, you got to pick your duty station, right? Which you weren't guaranteed anything, but you got to pick it at least. And this guy picked Okinawa first, right out of the box, and he went there, and then he came back, and then I did like a few years stateside, and then the last year I went to Okinawa. Now, if I had flipped it, I'd have never come back stateside because Okinawa is beautiful, and you know it's just great. But anyway, he went to Okinawa, and then when he came back, he got assigned to this drone thing. And then the next thing, for the rest of his time in the military, he was like flying freaking, you know, toy planes and stuff. And I was like, I was totally jealous of him, totally jealous. To this day, still totally jealous of him. You know, flying remote control cars around in the sky. What a deal.
What a job.
Yeah, what a deal, man.
It explodes when you want it to.
Yeah, right.
Or blows other things up. Yes. Nice.
Exactly. You know, but he didn't ask for. See, here's the thing. He didn't ask for it. Somebody just said, you know, like some random. He got reassigned to this unit, and he was we were both in electronics. We had, you know, radio repair and that kind of thing, and he got assigned to this unit that did drones, and he learned how to repair these drones. Basically swapping out cards. You know, it's not like any real sort of science or anything, but you know, what a deal. What a deal.
Yeah.
We got lost Alex. What happened to him?
I called in an airstrike.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get my service station correct. You're out of here. I still got a code.
That's funny because I do get people, you know, people, even my kids sometimes will say, you know, like, when you were in the Army, what was it like? I was like, I wasn't in the Army, so I don't know what it was like.
Yeah. People are like they find out you were in the military, but they don't know you. So when you were in the army, it's always, why do they always do that? Why do they always say when you were in the army?
All right.
The ones with the blue lasers, right?
Well, because it's the generic thing.
It's the one I know about, or
right. Well, it's all in the movies, right? It's all in the movies.
I guess so.
Well, here's the thing: is do you get this where when you meet other military people, do you not want to talk to them?
Kind of not anymore. It's all war stories anymore.
Yeah, because when I got out of the Marines, one of the things today, I wasn't the atypical Marine. I didn't care about being like and when I would meet people like in like civilian situations where you'd like work at a warehouse and they're like, hey, old Joe, there was in the Marines, you'd be like, I don't want to talk to that guy, right? Because that's like high school football. It's high school football. That was the peak of your life. Done. Don't want to do it. I want to talk about it.
Yeah. I don't know. I get stuff like that. The big thing I get is when people find out I was in the Air Force, they're all like, oh, then what kind of plane is that? Tell me about it. I'm like, dude, I wasn't an airplane mechanic. I don't know crap about airplanes, all right? Ask me about missiles or something. I can help you with that. But
Missile Command was my favorite. I love that game.
You joke. You remember, what was the movie? War Games.
War Games, yeah.
That was my job for a while. That was what my job was like. In a big room with screens all over the place, doing simulations and stuff. Wow. It's like I saw the movie, I go, hey, they got a picture of my workplace. It's awesome. That wasn't my workplace, but.
Speaking of missiles,
yep.
I was at the Air and Space Museum up in D.C. this weekend at the one out at Dulles, and I was surprised how much bigger the Sparrow was than the AMRAAM. I always thought the AMRAAM was going to be a bigger missile.
I saw that post on Facebook where you were standing next to the what was it, the stealth fighter thing?
The SR-71 Blackbird spy plane.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Sparrow, which was one of the radar-guided air-to-air missiles, was a good 2 to 3 feet longer and probably almost double the diameter of the AMRAAM. Even though the AMRAAM is a much more sophisticated version of the Sparrow, that kind of surprised me a bit.
Interesting. Yeah, when you see that stuff on, like what do they call it, B-roll sort of footage or whatever, you're like, oh, and then you see it in person, you're like, huh, that's different than I thought. It's pulling up a picture. I love it.
And by the way, I am an aviation geek, so I was like in heaven there.
I can imagine, yeah. I can imagine. Yeah. So which one, the AMRAAM is the like more sophisticated, more whatever? Or the other way around?
In that picture, the AMRAAM looks bigger than the Sparrow, which is what I thought. But the ones they had on display, the Sparrow was way bigger than the AMRAAM.
Interesting. Huh. Ed, do you know if that's just, I mean, I'm not because you were in the Air Force, but just in general because you clicked on a link. Is that like the Sparrow?
That is a Sparrow, though.
Huh. Interesting. So all of a sudden I've got like visions of Tony Stark, like, handing out bottles of whiskey and going, yeah, here's the Jericho. It's a good day, whatever. Cool. It's funny stuff. Yeah.
Tomahawks.
It's amazing stuff, right? I mean, I've never been sort of a motorhead, muscle geek sort of guy, but when you get into these different classifications of military units, you're kind of like, there's reasons why they're created, right? There's reasons why they exist, and I don't know, kind of feeds into that organizational thing, like we were talking about earlier with Street Food Tycoon. It's like resource management. Interesting. Was that Google? Just Google images. You just Google AMRAAM. Is that what you said, Ed? You're on mute.
Yes, I Googled that. Sorry.
Just AMRAAM. So now that's in your Google history. All right. Good.
Yes.
Go ahead and Google. Would you just Google?
will be looking at me very closely.
Yeah. Would you just Google like fertilizer for us now? Would that be great?
Yeah. Sure. Fertilizer.
And then you disappear from the call. We hear the door bust and barge in.
Right. Oh, that would be classic.
Ding dong.
Hold on, somebody's at my door.
Open the door now.
Just way off.
No!
Just way off in the distance.
What is it?
I'm gonna
see a big old flash in the background here. You know what happened?
So I'm going to throw a wild card topic out there because it was something that occurred to me earlier in the evening before the call started. Just as a interesting conversation starter, I guess. What do you guys listen to when you're putting in a coding session? What's your soundtrack?
You've seen my soundtrack. Or maybe it was on the Hangout, but Charles was making fun of it, so I'm not showing it.
Was I making fun of it? I don't know. I remember what it was.
Abba Gold on
I
repeat.
listen to the same music all the time. It drives my wife crazy. I listen to the same 30 songs.
Yep.
Forever, because I don't even hear them. It's just kind of like in the background. If one starts to annoy me a little too much, I just. Oh, you were making fun of the fact that I still use Winamp.
Winamp, yeah, that wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't making fun of your playlist. I was making fun of your player. Not even making fun of it. Just sort of like, yay you, because.
Yeah, really whips the llama's ass.
Yeah, Winamp is awesome, man. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
You probably can't believe it.
I don't know.
I got Eddie Rabbit, Neil Sedaka. I know it's terrible.
I've tried to listen. I've tried to listen to podcasts when I'm coding. I can't do it. I can't listen to anything. I just need silence and code.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm the same. I agree. There's days that I can take words, and then there's days where I just need music, right? So sometimes it's classical music, sometimes it's electronica, whatever. But yeah, and again, I'm kind of like Ed. I've got a playlist that I've hooked up, and depending on what mood I'm in.
Maybe not including Neil Sedaka though.
What's that? What?
Whatever you were laughing about earlier.
Oh, Eddie Rabbit. I was totally like, Eddie Rabbit. Oh, my God. I haven't ever thought about Eddie Rabbit in forever. Anyway.
I don't listen to anything with words. I mean, yeah, clearly the music has words. What I mean is I don't listen to anything where I have to, actually know what they said 2 minutes ago. Because otherwise I find myself incredibly distracted from what I'm working on.
Yeah,
like a podcast.
There's a huge difference between Roger Rabbit and Eddie Rabbit. Sorry. Bad joke. Sorry.
Boom, boom.
So
let me bring up a topic. Dang it, Alex is going to... I needed Alex here because I wanted to get some curses in. So here's something that happened to me today. Let me bring up my screen. Every once in a while, I go out to the various websites. Now, first of all, I'm going to start this off with a disclaimer. It's Chupa Mobile, and I'm not blaming them for anything. It's fine. As long as they respond to my emails, we're cool. But I go out here, and I'm like, what are people putting out on the different template sites? So I go, and I look at this, and I'm, best Sudoku, whatever. So then I click on it, and I'm like, hey, man, that looks like totally familiar. Now, for those who don't know, this is a template selling website. So, and I saw this, I said, damn, that looks really familiar somehow. So then I bring up my product page, and I'm like, oh, that's really nice. So this doofus, this person.
Hey, Ed, why did you steal Chupa Mobile's thing?
I know, this guy, Demur, he's not showing who he is. It's just some made-up name here, Mr. 7799, something 7799, has taken my template, which I only sell for $3 anymore. It's so cheap. And he now is trying to sell it on Chupa Mobile. And I'm like...
Well, this is a marketing problem.
What was it, $99 over there?
Yeah, and for $99 over there. I don't think he sold any copies, but I just kind of don't like the idea, so I wrote him and told him to take it down. But
hey, even if he sold one copy, he sold 100% more than you did, right?
Yeah, so he got you that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That sucks. Not that I want to poke you in the eye with that, but still.
It doesn't really make me that upset. It's just this is the kind of thing I watch out for every once in a while. It's like
yeah, that does suck. That totally sucks. And it does does that site have some sort of policy against that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, they got a thing, but interestingly enough, they got a page on this, and I go there, and it's got a email address you're supposed to write. That email address didn't work.
Oh, nice.
So I'm still working out how to contact them. I don't know if it was a typo on their part or what, but I'll figure it out eventually.
Just,
I think you should buy it and then confirm it's actually the same code.
Okay.
But okay. I'm being sarcastic there.
Yeah, I'll do that. Except for this little thing. I know. Look at this. You can tell that it's the same right away. But yeah, I know you're just messing with me. Actually, I offered to send them the code so they could compare it, because I know that there were certain parts of this code that were written in such a way that there'd be no way anybody would want to rewrite it, because it was too. There's a bit of this code that can be used to generate new puzzles, and it's kind of heavy. I mean, you could recode it yourself, but if you're already stealing somebody else's work, you probably aren't going to want to do that part.
Now, in all fairness to this person, what are the key indicators that you know that it's a pirated piece of whatever?
Well, all the artwork matches.
Like even the numbers on the thing match.
Even the number of puzzles on the thing, like the number of puzzles that are pre-made.
Yeah.
That he writes in his description is exactly what I said in my description.
Yeah, but at least he put a filter on his, so it shows different colors.
Yeah. Basically, what he did was he reskinned it, but he kept everything else same font, same coloration, same. Didn't bother to recolor the buttons. Everything's exactly the same.
You think just because, basically, just because of the signature of it, the style of it.
This is way too stylistically. I mean, if you look at it, it's maybe a little bit hard to see in this picture, but like.
You don't think you just looked at yours and said that's a great idea? I think I should do something similar to that.
Yeah, except for the fact that everything. Okay, Charles. Yeah, I see you're laughing. I'm looking at my other screen.
I'm sort of serious, but I'm at the same time I'm like,
there's no way that this is not exactly a copy of my.
Yeah.
There's elements that are exactly the same.
There's a bazillion Sudoku games, so yeah.
Yeah, no, there are. There's tons of them,
right.
But. I mean,
sure.
Even like the details so far is to go like put a button for getting more games and another button over here to do something else. Yeah. Same thing over here.
Right.
Give me a break.
Yeah, right. So even the very easy play, resume, same wording, same box, same everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything is extremely similar.
But Ed, presumably this guy bought the template off you, so you made $3.
Yeah. So at least I made $3. The thing is, I can't find an email, so I went through all my records for clients, people who bought stuff. I couldn't find anything that would like match up his pseudonym. Or is that the right word? Am I seeking here? Pseudonym?
Was that imitation is the highest form of flattery? So.
Yeah, well, I'm 33 times flattered. I'm super flattered. So, anyways, it's just kind of like I thought I'd bring it up because it's kind of one of those things where you kind of like a slap in the face and you see it and you're like, oh man, I did that.
All right, so here's here you go. For everybody watching and listening, you can go over to RomanGamer.com and you can get this Sudoku template for $3. So don't.
Right.
There you go.
And if you bought the other one for $99, get a refund.
Okay, well, so all joking aside, so when I buy a template of you, do you've got some kind of statement in it that
I do.
Says you're not allowed to resell it?
I do. I have an explicit statement in there that says you can use this code to make a game or an application, but you may not use it. You may not sell the source code. You may not use it to create another template or any kind of instructional material.
Right, so can't you just put some kind of a complaint in with whatever the website is, Tupa Mobile? Or...
Yeah, I've already emailed them and I told them what's going on. Yeah. We'll see. Hopefully it went through.
It even has a line in there that says, "Please don't be a bonehead. Please don't screw me."
I think I do actually. I do my license statements kind of so in plain English so people know what I'm saying. And I'm just saying this is a real simple license. don't steal my stuff, and give me credit if you want, but as long as you're making a game from this, it's cool. I mean, I don't use those exact words, but that's the essence of it. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I could have made a more official license, but then nobody would have read it anyways.
Nobody reads it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I'll show you. Wait,
that would be interesting. Just as a hypothetical, if you did buy the code, and then in the code it says, "Please don't screw me."
This is the literal statement. It says, "You may not sell or distribute the source code from this package. Use anything in this kit to make game templates, starter kits, or any other training and/or educational products." Period. Period.
Literally, period.
Short and sweet license. So, please
Interesting.
don't screw me at the bottom.
Interesting. Which I don't know. It does kind of say buyer beware, right? Because I mean, like you just said, I mean, let's just assume for a second it's the same 100, 200 lines of code.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would much rather pay $3 for it than $99 for it.
Exactly.
I mean, all things being equal.
It's totally not about the money. All it is about.
Oh, sure. On your end, yeah, it's like, well, it sucks.
It could hardly be about the money. Well, you know, unless the guy made like $1,000, then it's definitely about the money. I want that money.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame you can't see how many copies it actually sold.
Yeah. Although I get the impression he hasn't sold any because he doesn't have any ratings.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, yeah.
Jason, why are you throwing us deep inside the thick of the forest of Liberia?
Well, I wanted to throw this out there. I wanted to see if I could get some feedback from you guys. I'm thinking about modularizing or pluginizing a bit of code that I have worked with. This is sort of a demo from an app that I was contracted to work on last year. And so what I'm thinking about is something I'm calling talking text. So you can see over here, I've got this simple API that says talking text new. You define a parent group, what the text is. You define an audio file, base directory, which is an optional one if in case it's like if you've recorded something, and these breakpoints. So this is the part that you have to sort of calculate at what point in that audio file each word appears. So 0.2 seconds, 0.58 seconds, etc. A font size and then some padding and positioning. And you aren't going to hear it because it doesn't do that. But when it plays, you can.
Oh yeah, it reads the words.
Yep, and it sort of handles some of it's a pretty simple way to put this. You can. I don't do it here, but you can customize colors, what the color should be, what the highlight color is. And it has a couple of simple here. If I go here, you can see where it's text. I have some methods on it. So, text play. There's text, pause, resume, and it automatically cleans up. It disposes the audio file when the object is destroyed. So it's sort of. What do you guys think? You think this is something that the community might have use for?
I think they'd be really good for audiobooks or whatever you want to call it, like audiobook app-ish applications.
I'm sorry, did you say that the text synchronizes with voice?
You have to define the breakpoints. So it's a little labor-intensive up front where you have to say, for me, I would go through in an audio thing and just sort of look for the clippings. But yeah, it will, you assign it some text, you assign it an audio file, you tell it when the breakpoints are, and then when you run the method play on the created object, it will play it through.
Yeah, I want you to change the color of these words at intervals, whatever
and
those
every
intervals
specific word. So I mean, it's a little, the code itself is a little, it essentially creates, if there's 100 words in the thing, it's not one display new text object, it's 100 of them, but it handles, placing them. You can define a width, and it will, do that for you. Again, originally I created it I had a thing where there were, 20 pages, and so I said, okay, well, let me do this thing once, And it was sort of down and dirty the first time around, and then I was revisiting it last week and thought, okay, well, maybe I'll make this a plugin. I don't know.
Well, I think the answer is yes. That, yeah, if you made it, people would find it useful.
Yeah.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, making a plugin because it's 100 times better than doing transition or color transition on every single word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely yes.
Anytime you see something in an app and you're kind of like, ooh, I wonder how they did that. You know, that's a point where there's a value piece. That whether it's publishing some sort of open source code or creating a plugin that makes it easier to do or whatever, right? I mean, at the end of the day, there's head knowledge of like how you accomplish that, and then there's just the end result, right? So some people will want to know like how you accomplish that, and then some people will just be like, I just want to be able to do it. All right, so
Yeah.
I think that a plugin would be great for the people who are just like, I just want to be able to do it. I don't care how it works. I just want to be able to do it, and I don't know how to do it. So this would be great.
How do you feel about I don't know, I feel like, okay, we're revisiting the old monetization thing, but the plugin store is at the moment at least everything's free, and I'm cool with that. I mean, for these are the types of things that I see value in just releasing them for the sake of releasing them. However, I think it might be an interesting thing to say the plugin is free. You just want to use this thing in your app, do that. You're interested in digging into the bones of it? Throw me $2 and I'll send you the code for the plugin. What do you guys think of that? As a pod, you think there might be people who would be interested in that? Is that sort of...
Well, speaking of which, we've got Robbers tonight, isn't it? So how close is Corona to actually having a paid platform for the plugins?
I don't know what the official timeline is, you know, like as far as what's been accomplished on the back end and all that stuff like that. I do know that there's time spent trying to do things like being able to hook up the payment processing and being able to work out the bits and pieces for the store, and that's a continually ongoing project. So it's almost like, hey, there's this fire over here, it needs to be put out, it needs to be dealt with, and then they go back to working on the store when there's time available. So so as far as timelines as when it's going to become available, I don't know, but I do know it's being worked on. I do know it's something that resources are put to, but I don't know when.
I need to figure out how to put an icon next to mine, because Sergey's have his cool little studio icon next to them on the thing, and mine doesn't. I'm very jealous.
Yeah.
But also, at the other token, right, it's community-based, right? So, you know, with you, Jason, right, you really helped me out with like the Twitter plugin, and you know, I was complaining about it, and the next day I was able to tweet pictures. And you know, you put a donate button on your website, and you know, I did donate it some.
I sent you a thank you email. I think I did.
Yeah, no, I received that. But you know, it's like, you know, you know, you really helped me out there. So I was happy to throw some money your way, and I think that the community should do that. You know, even if the plugins are free, if it really helps you out, you know, just go to the developer's website and just chuck some money their way.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I think what Kevin is saying there is that, you know, there's Corona. Corona is moving forward, trying to make us the monetization portion available on the store, right? And that's the official, like, through
yeah,
the store.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if the developer puts a button on their site that says, hey, I really like the work that you're doing and I'd like to contribute to it, that's monetization as well, and it goes right into the developer's pocket. So developers who are putting out plugins should definitely consider doing that, which Jason has done, and I think anybody who benefits from the work that they've done should consider going and donating to them, right? Because I don't know, I've said it before. I think that there's something, you know, somebody who wants something for nothing, that you know, it's not. I don't trust that, right? I don't trust that.
At the end of today, we want everything for free. But if it really helps you out, then come on, just chuck some money towards the developer.
Right, exactly. What are you doing there? What do we have? The Wizard Isles?
Oh, it's just funny that Jason should bring up his idea because I'm also working not a text thing, not a speech thing, but I'm currently working on a choose your own adventure framework. So where you can code up a choose your own adventure style game with basic inventory and stuff like that.
What's that online platform for these types of games? Is it a Trine something?
Ton of them. Twine. Yeah.
Twine.
A long time ago I did a Twine converter.
Oh.
It was only moderately successful as far as capabilities. It didn't support most of the syntax for Twine. Twine supports I mean, all the stuff that you would expect, text and buttons and stuff like that. Those concepts, but it also supports math and even some kind of like scripting. So, yeah, none of that. I did none of that. I know. Actually, it's funny. I'm looking at. Nobody said anything. I said, I know I sound like a crazy person. In the group chat, Charles said Zork, and some more stuff.
Love those Infocom games.
Yeah, it's too bad Infocom went under and then got bought by somebody that then went under, and now they're owned. I know this because I researched today, and now is owned by a company who could give a crap less about their products. So,
I was thinking the other day, somebody really needs to make a mobile, like an iPad version of, what was it? It was called? It was a sweet Commodore 64 style game. What was it called? It was called Borrowed Time. You guys remember that one?
No.
It was like a noir. It was like a text parser, sort of like almost like a Shadowgate style in terms of text interface, but some graphics being displayed. And I just thought it's right for an iPad style. It would need to have some modern gaming conventions.
Jason, you're making me realize that I said earlier that I don't like games that make me read, right? Like they're making me like, oh, go to the mountain of Elderon and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't care about that.
By a Gru.
But if I'm like go west, and I go west and there's a reservoir. Oh, there's a reservoir. You see a raft. Oh, there's a raft. Blow it up. You don't have anything to blow it up with. Oh, okay. You know, like I like to try to figure out that progression.
Somebody needs to make an MMO that's totally text based.
Yeah, that's Zork, man. Zork is all about like.
You mean a mobile mud?
Mobile mud.
I suppose that's true. I suppose that is a mud.
That would be.
Yeah.
Mobile mud.
I never played muds. I like knew of their existence, but it wasn't a thing for me.
I used to help run a mud.
It's like playing Pokemon on the Game Boy. Nobody ever reads the text.
Nobody ever what?
It reads the text.
That's not true. My nephew, and my brothers, all three of his kids went to the Pokemon World Championships a couple of weeks ago in Boston. And like placed. His kids are all super into it. It's great. The Pokemon people pay for them to go. I think I might have talked about this in an earlier conversation. So
I'm not sure, maybe, but yeah.
But it's crazy. It's crazy. These kids have got scholarship funds going from Pokemon. It's insane.
Hey man, however you can get there, that's all that counts, right? It doesn't matter. As long as you can pay for it, who cares?
Yeah, right.
Pokemon.
I do think that there's. Well, I know for sure that people still do read interactive fiction because there's several of them out there.
Well, there's new avenues for it. I haven't really played it, but in Japan it's a big thing, right? There's the Phoenix Wright games and these other sort of graphic visual novel type of things.
Yeah, it's something that I've been wanting to do. So going with my statement on Monday about getting my games done, this is one of my games I'm going to get done.
Sweet. Let me know when you need beta testers.
Sir?
Let me know when you're ready for beta testers.
Yeah, it'll be a little while because it's kind of long, but this specific one that I'm using as the test bench for the toolkit is a interactive fiction based on several of the rooms that were in the mud that I used to help administer. So I get the benefit of having everybody else's work that went into making the rooms and all the descriptions and stuff like that. I just had to figure out a way to get it into an interactive fiction format.
Stephen, you were talking, and I felt so bad. You're so quiet on these things. I hate when I interrupt somebody. So what's up?
Oh, I just said this guy on the side that I've linked. He and I don't really have anything to really expound on here, but there's still an active community of these, and some of them have been going to GDCs and whatnot.
So this is like an open source project, right?
Some of them are, and they're trying to port Infocom, or I don't know what they're doing exactly, but he a few years ago was making an iOS interactive fiction game.
So are all these different?
There's a few of those by now. But
so it was this iOS Fismo? Is this what this is? The iOS version?
Yeah, it might be. Z Machine is a VM, I think, a virtual machine for these sorts of games.
Interesting.
Huh. Come on, man. We're all hanging. We're all hanging on every word. Say something else, Steven. I'm giving you crap. You're always so quiet on these things. So you're like, okay, he's now talking. We're all going to listen.
Okay, I have a quick topic to bring up, I guess. On plugins, with what if you have part of the plugin that makes the resource and part that consumes it? Should those be two, or should those be all in one? If one part, that's another thing where you might not care about one part, but.
So are you asking this question from you're considering doing a plugin, or you're asking this as a strategic method of monetizing a plugin?
Yeah, like one part would be very simple and just consume the resource that you make in another part, which may not.
Almost like a stub. Almost like a stub, like you get the plugin into the store and the person uses the plugin, but the plugin reaches out to an external resource.
Yeah, so say you had the Coronium part that makes whatever, and you have the part that reads it. I'm thinking, I've got something to show, I guess.
Yeah, give us a concrete example.
All right.
Yeah,
not in a bad way.
It makes me think of those things. They're like stubs. Like you get a game that when you download it, it then goes out and then pulls all of the external resources, right? You've seen those games where it's like, it gets under the wire, it gets under the resource limit wire so that you can download it over, the network. But then once you go to open the app, then it's like, oh, we're updating, and it pulls all that stuff down.
Are you seeing a duck or a pair of ducks?
Yeah.
Roger.
A pair of ducks. Okay.
Roger.
Okay. So I generate a texture that I feed into another effect, and then I can do this, right? So it goes through some expensive process to build a resource, right? Which is this warp texture. But consuming it is almost nothing. Whereas they could be split up into two parts. What would, I don't know, say if any of you were doing something similar, would you break it up or would you put that all in one?
Well, what would be the advantage of breaking it up? Sorry.
Let's talk at the same time.
Okay,
yeah,
everybody go at once.
What would be the advantage of breaking it up into two parts?
Well, on one, you could generate the pieces, or someone else could even generate the pieces and give them away. They could be making the resource that you consume. Like one part could go to an artist, say, and the other part would just be the developer. Is this?
Yeah, but I'm kind of.
It's not very clear in my mind. I'm just wondering how anyone else would go about it.
I mean, it sounds like you're saying so there's two halves to this.
There's an editor and then there's the client, essentially.
Oh, well, you already said it, right? You said it. It's the content consumer portion, the plugin that uses the content, whatever it may be, and then there's another piece of code, perhaps, or a step or work that is external.
Where I was dragging things around, that would be if it was prettier, it would be the editor.
Well, if they're, I mean, I would definitely, yeah, definitely, I would. Okay, so let's give it like a concrete example. Let's say you had a plugin that consumed levels that were loaded for, that could be it's like a generic level loader.
Right.
And you could keep it really simple and light. Then I would definitely keep that as a separate plugin, especially if you had like, well, okay, then I want to do one plugin that's very heavy. It's got a lot of features in it, and I might monetize this later. Or I might want to do two different versions, and they're distinctly different enough that it doesn't make sense for me to make them both together and packaged with the other plugin. Right? Especially because somebody using that plugin, they wouldn't need all the heavyweight crud that came along with the other one because they're not using it. They're just consuming the content. They're not generating anything. So to answer your initial question, I'd say that makes perfect sense. Split up the plugins.
I will say though, I do like the way that plugins are sort of packaged, within the way Corona handles it. You could, like, if you've got, say, a plugin that has a dependency for this other module that could stand alone as its own plugin, you could. I think I see myself going. So if somebody downloads this plugin, it's dependent on this other thing, which could be packaged as a separate plugin. I would say packages it as a separate plugin, but assuming it's not going to bulk up the size and kilobytes of the thing, you can package that with the other one so that if the user just wants to download the one plugin, you're removing the need for them to buy two separate plugins, and it's sort of invisible to them, right? Because when you download a plugin, it's just downloading a zip file. It's all encrypted. They're not really seeing what's inside of it anyway. Like for me, with the Twitter plugin, there's an OAuth module that I kept separate that's bundled in there that I suppose could be a standalone OAuth module, though I tweaked it for my specific needs. And so these are dependencies, and that's something that could be a standalone plugin, I suppose. But for me, I packaged it all in.
I think we just solved Ed's Sudoku problem. Half of his code should have been on the server, and then half of his code should have been in the client.
Yeah. Then I could have. Yeah. Never mind. Don't poke the bear.
Yeah, careful. We still haven't heard from Alex yet, so.
He's gonna be sad. He missed out on the opportunity to curse. I was expecting at least like an extra 5 to my count. Colorful language describing our friend, whatever he may be.
That's great. All right, guys.
I still say what I said earlier, which is split them up. But I also understand what Jason is saying, which is you might want to offer like a bundle in a sense, just to keep things simple for those who want to use them together. I don't know if they would accept that or not, but if they do, then that makes perfect sense to have two various plugins.
Well, I think it's only if there are two distinct use cases,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Completely off topic, Jason, I had a quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
With the Twitter plugin you made, right? When you tweet a picture, you're doing something like what's called multi-part form data to upload it, whatever.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain how that works? Because I was trying to figure it out, and it seems
not well. Truthfully, I leaned on some open source stuff that's out there pretty heavily on that. So I tinkered with it to get it working, if I'm being honest, and that's bad habit. That's poor form on my part, but I wanted to get it out there.
No, that's fine. But the reason I'm asking, like, when I upload a picture to Facebook from my app, it takes quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I upload a picture to Twitter, it's nearly instant, right? So I was just wondering if it's converting the image into actual text or something, and then
Yeah, I mean, it's my understanding is it essentially converts it to a string.
Yeah.
That's then uploaded.
Right.
I mean, I don't know that would. I don't think there would be any compression involved in that, though.
I don't see how that would help speed anything up.
Yeah, I think that's probably just based on how the Facebook plugin works, or how Facebook servers handle upload.
That's my guess.
Right. Okay.
My guess is your slow. Sorry, my guess is your slowdown is probably coming from the Facebook servers. Something on their end.
So,
Do you
so
ever
it's
see fast uploads?
it's got nothing to do with converting an image into a string and then uploading the string and then converting it back to an image.
No, I mean, if you think about it for a minute, right? So if you convert an image to a string, which I'm not sure that you can actually do. I mean, I'm sure you could do it, but okay, just say.
All images are text-based.
Sir?
I'd say all images are basically text-based, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean everything. Oh no. No.
Binary
I'm gonna
blobs.
say no. I'm going to say no. We're bordering on territory I'm not 100% familiar with, but I mean that's the reason we have binary encodings and text encodings for data transmissions is to maintain the encoding of certain information, and because I think that transmission systems, given text, can take certain shortcuts, knowing that the text can only reach certain bit encodings and things like that, versus the full encoding of your images is going to require a significantly larger range of encoding as far as the binary footprint of each individual part. So, you know, for example, you have 32 bits, you know that it could be any of those 32 bits could be in use. Versus with text, if it was a 16-bit packet or something, you'd know that the first part's used, but the end part's never going to be used because no text encoding goes above that. But anyways, backing up, forgetting about encodings and talking about stuff I'm not 100% familiar with. Regardless, if you have a 4K image and you recode it in any way, it's still going to be a 4K image unless it goes through some kind of optimization or compression.
Yeah.
So you're still
So no, I
moving
mean,
4K.
ultimately, these are just asynchronous calls, right? So we're just waiting for the receiving server to send something back. So it really could just have something to do with how Facebook handles things on the back end. That's before it issues, you know, a response, an HTTP response.
I also wonder if the flow of, hey, I've got something to say, then I'm going to do this, then there's another step. There may be more steps, and they may be forced synchronous with Facebook, whereas there may be allowed to be more asynchronous with Twitter, which means you get a lot more overlap and speeds it up.
Well, and Facebook definitely does some conversion on your thing. Like, you know, for example, if you upload a video to Facebook, you know, using their app, it's not going to be available right away. So even after the you know, so there's some processing that's happening on the back end that perhaps Twitter just doesn't bot. You know, Twitter just throws it up on the server, sends back a URL. Here's where it is. You know what I mean? This is conjecture on my part, but
I don't know. The only reason
at this point.
Sorry. No, the only reason I was asking because I noticed the increase of speed using Twitter versus Facebook in terms of uploading. Because you know, if I say share to Twitter, it's like instant, and if I share to Facebook, I have to wait like 20 seconds before I get the call back saying, oh, it's done.
20 seconds. That's a second.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
Holy moly.
Because I'm trying to think. I mean,
I was thinking you were talking like on the order of a second.
No.
My app Social Poetry uploads images to Facebook. Now, it's over a year old at this point, so it's using an older version of the SDK, but it doesn't take that long.
Are you using the graph library, or are you using
Yeah,
I'm using the Corona basic plugin, and on average it takes about between 15 and 20 seconds.
My guess here is one, it probably has to go through a lot more reauthorization steps with the Corona plugin than it does if you were to use a graph-based, where you've already gotten your token. You said, I am who I am. I've got my stuff. I don't need to retell you, hey, this is who I am every time. My guess is they're going through more reauthorizations there or something.
Maybe it's that. I mean, at the same time, I like to use Twitter because they're less fuzzy. I mean, I've been to, well, with Facebook, they changed all the settings now, or the policy, rather, where you have to be approved and you have to put their logo in your app if you want to share to them, and you know, it's all a bit nonsensy. So I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to go for Twitter.
And I know we need to wrap things up, but any movement on the 360 Plus getting on the App Store?
It's back in the queue.
Right on.
For review. So hopefully, it's been 6 days now. So hopefully tomorrow or the day after we.
Tomorrow's the magic day.
Yeah. So yeah, fingers crossed. Knock on wood.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, send out a message when it drops, because we definitely want to.
No, will do.
Promote that. Yeah, I want to put it on my device officially and play it, because I know you did. How many levels did you do on that?
60.
Oh my gosh.
Is Google Play out?
Yeah, Google Play is out, but I haven't promoted it yet because I just want to wait for both of them, to be officially approved, and then do the whole push.
Okay. Well, I'll look for it on Android. I'll have to plug my charge my Android device.
Yeah.
It's over
but it's on Google Play, so you can get it there.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. I'm gonna go eat and drink. I gotta catch up with Charles.
All right.
I need to go to bed.
Yeah. It's like it's already tomorrow there for you.
Yeah, it's 4:15.
Oh my word. I'm nauseous for you.
I've got 4 hours of sleep, so I'll be alright.
I can't do that. No, that doesn't happen. I'm not up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I would be hungover tomorrow. All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Thanks for being here. See you later.
See ya.
Where's my cursor?
Everybody's gone. All right. See you.